For today's guest, the name itself speaks a lot. There's no introduction needed for this person. But there are certain things that I would love to specifically mention here. He's the founder and director of Chanakya International Institute of Leadership Studies at the University of Mumbai. He has done over 1,000 lectures in institutions like National Defense College, Defense Services Staff College, Indian Institute of Management, IIT, and many more. He has been a leadership and strategy advisor to over 500 organizations, including various corporations, government and non-government organizations. These include some of them are Indian Oil Corporation, HPCL, BPCL, Tata Group of Companies, Reliance Industries, Aditya Birla Group, Mahindra and Mahindra, Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, Police Academies, and a lot more. Avishkar Research Award, International Yoga Day organizer, Sardar Patel International Award are just to name a few awards that have been conferred to him. He has been the part of the various national and international projects of Government of India, including First International Yoga Day Academic Conference organized in USA by Indian Council of Cultural Relations and Consulate General of New York as the chief convener. Rated as the top 50 management thinkers from India by thinkers50.com, he is on a mission mode to bring back ancient Indian wisdom in a modern format. He is rated as India's #1 best-selling business author with 17 best-selling books on Chanakya. Just to name a few: Chanakyaneeti, Katha Chanakya, Corporate Chanakya, The Arthashastra, Chanakya in You, Chanakya 7 Secrets of Leadership, Chanakya in Daily Life, Thus Spoke Chanakya, and many more. And with the recent and the latest one being the successful book that is 100 Sutras of Chanakya. I'm sure you have guessed it by now. So let's welcome him. He is none other than Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, who is intensifying lives across various domains of the society through his contributions massively. Welcome, Dr. Pillai. I am so glad and honored that you are here today. I know you have a crazy busy schedule, but namaste and welcome to Intensify Life podcast.
Thank you, Somdutta. It's an honor, and I really appreciate your patience. You've been following up so much, and finally, before Diwali, we are doing this. Happy Diwali to you and everybody who's listening and watching this.
Thank you so much. I mean, I know you have launched the recent book. So first of all, congratulations on the huge success of this one. We'll talk more about that. And happy Diwali to you and all the listeners as well. And happy Dhanteras as well. I mean, this is an auspicious day. I'm speaking with you.
Same here, same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you too. All right. So, Dr. Pillai, there are so many questions that I have. First of all, you have written 17 books on Chanakya itself, which this is such a segment, this is such a topic which you have collaborated with the modern thinking and modern ways of living, everyday leadership, and every segment. So there are so many questions, but first one I would like to begin with is I read somewhere where you mentioned that, one day writing about Chanakya actually came to you. You never decided it yourself.
Yes.
And it was not a structured thing, but it came to you. That was an interesting part. And I wanted to understand from you what exactly happened and how did it begin?
So I'll tell you the philosophy and then what events made it happen.
Sure.
So the philosophy, it is said that if you have the best plan, show it to God. He will start laughing. Because God has a better plan than you. A lot of people have career plans, business plans, life plans. Kuch nahi hota. So finally you realize...
I agree to it.
So if you think you're going to have a 5-year plan, God has got many better plans for you. If you have a career plan, you'll be surprised. There was a research which said an average person changes career 3 times.
I agree. I'm a living example for that. So I go by what you say.
So I think, planning is important. Chanakya helps you to plan. But remember one thing, you have to also go by the flow. So how did Chanakya happen to me? I always believe it is God's grace. And some of you must have watched my videos that actually got inspired at Kailash Mansarovar. So, I've been a devotee. I don't believe that I'm a great person, but definitely I'm a spiritual seeker. So it so happened, I was in Kailash Mansarovar, and I don't know why. This strange thought came into my mind that I have to dedicate my life to study and promote Chanakya's Artha Shastra. And I thought it's a weird thought. Ye kya ho raha hai? Some funny thought, Chanakya. And of course, I was studying Chanakya, but I never thought I would dedicate my life to Chanakya. But then you know what? I had my spouse, my wife Surekha with me. And women always have better thoughts. So I just, shared with her and saying, don't take this thought lightly. If you got it in a spiritual environment, there's a spiritual energy. So when you go to a saint or when you go to a tirtha sthal, a pilgrimage spot, a temple, or anywhere that you believe there is, spiritual vibes, definitely those thoughts are not your thoughts. It's thoughts sent by God. I came back from Kailash Mansarovar. I went to Kerala, studied the Artha Shastra, and that is the time I realized one thing. I am the only person who actually did that till then. Study the whole system of Chanakya in a Gurukul model.
This is crazy. I mean, in a Gurukul model, and like you said, iske pehle, I don't think anybody else has ever studied with such depth and width.
नहीं बहुत लोगों ने पढ़ाई किया बट अपने हमारे जनरेशन में so in our generation but then what I did Dr. Gangadhar Nair who taught me that he was part of Chinmaya mission one teacher one student can you believe it the whole Artha Shastra was taught to me so I said wow I'm special God's grace God's plan a lot of people told me is this the age to study all this is good for retirement activities but you never know you studied it and you come back and then something strange happens. God's grace, I started writing on Chanakya, speaking on Chanakya, and the publishers actually approached me. Jaco and other publishers, even till today, the publishers come and say, why don't you write a book? And as you're talking about this book, this is my 22nd book.
Oh my God.
and surprisingly, I'm writing 6 more books on Chanakya. It is not over yet.
This itself says that there is so much to learn from just Chanakya itself. I mean, 22 books, it's not a joke. And still 6 more are coming up.
Still not out.
Still not out. Exactly. I mean, wow. So you got it at Kailash Mansarovar.
Yes.
Another spiritual place. So this is really interesting that universe gave a signal to you, a sign. Sort of. Okay, great. And you also mentioned Chinmaya mission, right? And you have been associated with Chinmaya Vipassana. So I remember my first Vipassana encounter when I was not in a very good phase of life. So I Google kar rahi thi, desperate for a situation solution. Vipassana word popped up. And before that, I've never even heard about that word. And I was like, ye kya hai? Are free mein hai. Okay, let me go because that time I did not have money. But that 10 days, I mean, again, universe took me there. It just changed everything. And that's how my spiritual journey started. So your father has been a Vipassana teacher, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're right.
Then you have been associated with Chinmaya mission. You have been meditating over 30 years or so. So how did this journey begin? And what happened?
So again, coming back to the point, it's all God's grace. I've been brought up in a spiritual family. My mother and my father trained me. And as you say, my father, being a teacher and a practitioner of Vipassana, I saw that in my house. Today, my father is 88 years old. And he still meditates for 10 hours a day. Imagine at this age, people can't even walk properly. He sits down in Padmasana on the ground and he meditates for 10 hours a day. Can you believe? That's the power of meditation I saw since my childhood. But then, it was curiosity. But then Chinmaya mission gave me the intellectual understanding of our Shastras or scriptures. So I would say, the earlier you start in spirituality, it's better. Spirituality is not a post-retirement activity. It is something that you do before your life begins. In fact, before your journey begins, you look at the Google map, right? Or any map. what is the point of having a map after the journey is over? So I've been very fortunate that, I had the spiritual grounding right from my parents to Chinmaya Mission. And then I've been very fortunate that even my spouse, my children are in the spiritual journey. And believe me, I don't say I have a good family. I have a good and a spiritual family. And believe me, that changes everything. And I always believe a work of Chanakya is also part of a spiritual journey. Don't think that it's only about, professionalism, motivational speaker, author, mentor, guide, teacher. All this is okay. But finally, I'm a devotee and I believe everything has come to me and I should do it best as a service to my teachers. So that's my spiritual approach to Chanakya.
Wow. I mean, the seeds have been sown long back. And when you said it's a spiritual family, that speaks a lot in itself. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you brought a very interesting point, where I would definitely like to ask. Nowadays, it's like people have started considering spirituality just as a subject, and like you mentioned, it's not for the retirement age. So there is a segment of people who are seekers, so they don't draw a conclusion and they are still going on seeking. But there is a set of people who thinks that spirituality, okay, मैं ये सीख लिया, and then it's like, इसका करना क्या है? That's fine. I have known this. I have learned this. Let it be like that. When it comes to spirituality in our daily life and what we do in terms of personal life, professional life, how would you define spirituality from your own experience?
So I'll tell you what my guru told me, Swami Tejomananji from Chinmaya Mission. There are two stages of spirituality. The basic, I would say, the common man's approach is, what is the benefit of spirituality? मुझे क्या फायदा मिलेगा? So many people go to temples or do some, I would say, anushthan, or they take vratas for the fulfillment of a desire. Maybe exams में अच्छा mark आए, I get a job, I get married, I have children, whatever. But that is the first stage of spirituality, where you are doing some spiritual activities for a benefit. In fact, in many corporates, also we see that, meditation is for profits. So you want to have meditation in your company, and the result is not a peaceful mind. A peaceful mind for more productivity leading to profits. So usually 90% of the people in the first stage consider spirituality as some beneficial activity. And that's why, if you read Hanuman Chalisa also, which is a very popular text, what is the benefit? Nase rog hare sab pira japata nirantar Hanumat veera. So you are actually chanting Hanuman Chalisa for your disease to go away. And if you're a poor person, you don't have money, if you pray to God, you'll get money. And if you are very rich, you give money to keep the money. So finally, at the end of it, initial stage of spirituality is desire prompted. But I say, at least you believe in God, that God can fulfill your desires. But the second stage of spirituality is very interesting. It is not to have fulfillment of desires, but to finish your desires. And that's a very advanced state. In fact, I have seen so much success in my life, so much success. It's a problem. So I always tell people, you are talking about success. I'm talking about over successful person. Imagine writing 22 books, traveling 20 days a month, and not traveling as a tourist, okay? I'm traveling everywhere as a chief guest of the program. I stay in the best 5-star, 7-star hotels of the world. I train the best of the best, the politicians, the leaders, scientists. I'm in every university of the world. I'm India's #1 business author. I'm already a PhD gold medalist, academically brilliant, very successful. I'm very popular in colleges. In fact, whenever we go out as a family, the biggest problem is that everybody recognizes me. And my wife says, yaar, bahar aaye ho, kam se kam. I still remember a lot of people, are you Radhakrishnan Pillai? I was flying from Delhi back to Mumbai just yesterday night, day before yesterday night. Somebody sitting behind me said, you look like Radhakrishnan Pillai. I said, I am.
ऐसा कभी हुआ है? You said, no, you have mistaken. I just look like this person.
I think I will start using that now. So the point is that for me now, spirituality is not about achievement. Now, spirituality is saying, okay, can you be calm and quiet? And whatever little you have, consider this as God's grace and use it for the service of the people. Please understand, after a point, if you still want more and more and more, it is not good in spirituality. That's why we talk about, two words in our Indian culture, Bhagavad Gita, right? So Gita and the Ulta is Tyagi. So you have to start giving up. My problem is that even if I want to give up, it still comes back to me. You'd be surprised at one point I decided I don't want to travel so much. I made a list of where not to travel. Can you believe I said no to 100 invitations, not one or two? And you'll be surprised. The number of invitations increased to 500. So if God has chosen me for his work, I better look at it as a spiritual attitude towards my guru. Because my teachers told me that whatever knowledge you have, use it for the service of others. So I think, spirituality for me is it is not about achievement outside, which I am, by grace of God, done. But at the same time, yes, are you quiet and calm? So at the same time, I'm happy if somebody recognizes me, but I'm equally happy if nobody recognizes me. Some celebrities I know, because I work with the film industry, sports industry, some celebrities feel very bad. अरे इसने मुझे पहचाना नहीं. They did not come and take a selfie with me. Because you may be popular, but there are still people who don't know you. And they feel very awkward. How come they don't recognize me? So if somebody comes and tells me, okay, let me click a selfie with you, I'm happy. If nobody recognizes me, I'm more happy. So I think the one word for me is what probably Bhagavad Gita also talks about. It's called Same Kritva. Be equal in all situations. Profit or loss, honor or dishonor, success or failure. I think you have to be equanimous. Just remember God and do it the way God has destined for you. That's spirituality for me.
That is so beautifully put with examples. I think it's the equanimity that is being taught in Vipassana as well. Wow. I understand what happens when people come and take your photo and then you say, Matlo, and more are coming. So you have like a spring effect, which is actually going in the opposite direction for you. So in a way, it's great because you know what? A lot of people are able to learn from what you have. And just like rightly you mentioned, if you have something within you that is going to benefit other people, you are actually doing it. So thank you so much. अगर आप ये books नहीं लिखते तो मुझे भी पता नहीं होता कि what are the things like, related to Chanakya. So coming to this point with respect to Chanakya and the books you have written, when people hear about Chanakya in general, without having any awareness or knowledge, a lot of people have negative annotation with Chanakya. Oh, is it about Chanakya? That means, manipulation, negative thing, etc., etc., etc. But there is a completely different picture altogether when you actually start studying and reading about it. So, what is it that people should know? People who don't know much about Chanakya, what is it that you would like to tell them when they are getting the books, or which is the first book that they should read to know more about it and how it is going to help them personally, professionally, everything?
So let me tell you what first is perception about Chanakya. So please understand, every person has got two shades, right? The black and the white. And let us not forget there is one more color in between called gray. So gray is also a color and there are many shades of gray. So I would say that every character across the globe, especially historical characters, can be discussed negative and positive, right? Now, when I studied Chanakya, the perception is that he's a very negative person, Neeti, cruel, manipulative, selfish. And if you look at the old photographs in the internet also, it's as if, he's going to kill you, murder you. So the image of that particular person. But yes, everybody respected him. I said, okay, I don't want to judge Chanakya, let me study Chanakya. So I would say that a lot of things probably which many people may not agree. And let me tell you, there are certain things about Chanakya, even I don't agree. Because, agreement or disagreement is personal. But I realized one thing, he was practical, he was spiritual, and more important, result oriented. And he was a great nationalist. And he's the one who made India the richest part of the world. When we hear, Sone ki Chidiya, India was the richest part of the world. Surprisingly, it is Chanakya who did it. Then I said, okay, here is a person who made my country the richest country in the world. And the best part is that the formula has been written down. It's not some, old days forgotten. And he wrote Arthashastra and Chanakyaneeti, right? The books. After I studied it, I understood one very important thing, that this particular person actually is not even understood. Forget misunderstanding. And then I started looking at saying, okay, apart from being a political strategist, he created leaders. Chandragupta Maurya was an ordinary boy from a very low strata of the society. He made him a samrat. Well, here is a person who was a social thinker, an economist, a leadership guru, and the same generation, Alexander came to attack India. And he defeated him. So a lot of things, and the best part is everything documented. If I do something, people may forget. So he documented it. I said and said, okay, a lot of things I may not like, but there are certain things I should not let go. And today there's a big narrative going around, even Mahatma Gandhi. And I feel very bad about it. Personally speaking, there are a lot of things about Mahatma Gandhi which I may not agree to. But let us not forget, if you look at that generation, he could unite people and, stand against the Britishers. No other country in the world has got a person on the currency note who was not a prime minister or a president or a king. So think about it. Mahatma Gandhi has or had some of his weaknesses. I personally not agree, but remember, he was instrumental in getting freedom for India, which I think we should accept the fact also, in spite of disagreements. So coming back to Chanakya, I realized one thing, there are a lot of things that I can focus on. But the problem is that the perception management was a problem. So what I did is that I first studied and I started perceiving him, saying that, okay, he is a person whose ideas still work today. For example, don't we think about money every time? Of course, it's a part of human society. But don't just think about money, but actually create wealth. So a lot of people say money is evil. Sorry, money by itself is neutral. What you use it for makes it evil or good, right? So you can use the same money for the upliftment of the society, or you can use the same money for negative activities. So I said, okay, let me understand those principles. So I wrote a book on that, Chanakya and the Art of Getting Rich. Then I said, okay, ours is a nice country, right? We got a lot of friendly neighbors. I said, okay, with all the problems that we have, can we have a Chanakya solution? Of course, Chanakya's Arthashastra can be looked at some military science also. I wrote a book, Chanakya and the Art of War. Then I said, okay, Chanakya can help corporates to become successful in creating wealth. Corporate Chanakya. Then I said, okay, can I reach out to children? I wrote 4 books for children. Chatur Chanakya Part 1 and 2, Katha Chanakya, Stories of Chanakya, and Chanakya in the Classroom. Then I wrote a book for the youth, how to become entrepreneurs, how to select your spouse. Because marriage as an institution is our biggest strength. But a lot of marriages today are not working out very fine. There's a Chanakya solution for that also. Can you believe it? I wrote this book called Chanakya in You. Then I went on. A lot of people said, you understand Chanakya, but what is Chanakya known for? The right way of thinking. I wrote a book called Chanakya and the Art of Right Thinking, Anvikshiki. And look at it, simplified. Every book is becoming simpler and simpler. So I am not here to tell you how to study scholarly books, which I did, and it was not very easy. And everybody doesn't have the bent of mind, right? But everybody wants solution for their problems. So even the latest book, simple. In fact, the best part is that you can open the book from any page and you can read every chapter in only 1 minute. So, I met a politician today morning. He's an MP, member of parliament. and I gave a book to him, and he's been promoting my books across the country. So he's telling me the best part of your books is that I can open any page, and we politicians who are super busy can also learn in 1 minute. So he actually reads one page per day to build up political strategies. So the idea is that there are so many books simplified, even for the most busiest person. But Somdutta ji, the best part is that if you will ask me which is the first book to start from, it's like asking a mother who is their favorite child.
That is a great answer. But you've already given the answer, I guess. If people pick up any book, any page, they can begin anywhere.
Right.
This is so interesting to know. And when you were talking about the books, I have so many books of yours because I was so fascinated by the fact that Chanakya ke upar itna sara book, and each with a different theme, each with a different this thing. This one is the one you were talking about, Art of Getting Rich, Chanakya and You. But I would like to ask this one and want to highlight to others as well. When I read this book, okay, leadership book on Chanakya, I was fascinated by the fact how you have actually collaborated the real story of Shivanandan sir with the theme of what is happening in our leadership segment, along with Chanakya's teachings. I mean, how did you do it? I mean, where did this conceptualization of this particular story come into picture?
So I'll tell you, it's an interesting incident that happened. My first book was Corporate Chanakya. Super successful. And when you write a book for the first time and it becomes a blockbuster, you have a problem. It's like Bahubali 1 itna bada ho gaya, Bahubali 2, what to do? And I'll tell you, I never wrote my second book till it was very clear. I say, I don't want to write Corporate Chanakya Part 2. Because Chanakya has so many dimensions. I said, let me wait for the right opportunity. And I remember one day I was called by one Dr. Natarajan for a function of Rotary Club. Okay, and we were training doctors on leadership. So I was speaking about Chanakya, and next to me, the other speaker was D. Shivanandan sir. Okay, and we knew him because he's the one who was the person responsible for eliminating the underworld in Mumbai. We heard about him, we've seen movies about him. There's a movie called Company, based on how we cleaned up the whole underworld in Mumbai and all that. And when he spoke on leadership, I said, oh, I only speak about the theory of Chanakya. And here is a man who has done it. After the session, I went to him and said, sir, you are amazing. I think you should write a book on how strategically you applied all the principles and delivered results, like Chanakya. You know what he told me? I can't write a book. Why didn't you write a book? हम तो पुलिस वाले, हमको काम करना आता है, लिखा ही पड़ा है, आप लोग कर लो. They said, wow, what an idea. So Chanakya and real action. And then I told him the side, sir, you've done so much, but everybody doesn't know about the work that you have done. So can I actually collaborate with you? So why don't you write a joint book? Story is his, theory is mine, writing is mine. But believe me, after that, the whole perception changed. That book has become a case study of applied leadership in many institutions globally. In fact, this book is a case study in Harvard. And I'll tell you something, friends, we have so much negative understanding about Indian government and bureaucracy. Corrupt hai, chore hai. I think that I'm not telling that everybody is a saint. There are criminals in the uniform also. A lot of people, doing wrong activities, but you can't generalize it. And Shivanandan sir is one of those finest examples of saying that in the same system, you can be productive, honest, and efficient, right? I said stories like this should be told. Why do we glorify the underworld people in the movies? I mean, what kind of a signal are we giving to the next generation? And every society will have the dark side, right? But we forget that every society also has got a white side. I wrote this book, and let me tell you, I'm so satisfied. Today, myself and Shivananda sir do so many workshops for the youth in a lot of colleges on leadership in the government. And I'll tell you one more thing. After reading the books, a lot of people in the corporate world actually started joining government departments. I know of so many cases where there are IIT, IIMs drawing fast salaries, 7-figure salaries in the corporate world. Imagine 10 lakh and above. And they say we have to join the government department. They're giving IAS, IPS exams. I said, why? Because I think in the corporate world, the impact is small. It's in the government that the real impact is. Think about the same message given by Narayan Murthy to Rishi Shonak. Narayan Murthy, very successful Infosys founder, a billionaire. He tells his son-in-law the real impact of leadership is bigger in the political field. And a person who was a corporate leader, Rishi Shonak, joins the political scenario and he becomes the leader of a country like UK. So the idea of telling all these things that, please understand the impact of real leadership is in the government. And Chanakya also did that.
This is so massive. I mean, it's not just a case study, it's a real example of how people can actually do with their potential.
Absolutely.
And just like you mentioned, there is a positive side and a negative side to everything. Even you take the best of professions, any segment, there are both sides of the coin. And I specifically highlighted this part is because the story, the way you have put it across and what Shivanandan sir has done, it actually gives goosebumps because you rightly mentioned in movies, etc., a lot of things have been glorified of the underworld, etc. But what he has done is something which people will feel, okay, it is nearly impossible. Given the kind of situation that was at that point of time in Mumbai. So and the best part was I loved how you actually correlated and collaborated Chanakya's teachings and the modern day people, what they can do with it. So this is not just a story. If anybody reads it, they will actually know what to do with it. So that's a fabulous. So when I read this book, I was like, nahi, mujhe iske bare mein puchna hi padega. So thank you for sharing that. And now coming to this part, we talked about spirituality. We talked about various segments, children, relationships, leadership, everything. Spirituality in every segment of the life, like spirituality needs to be ingrained in people, in kids since, childhood, everywhere. In your words, what do you think that spirituality brings in as the essence in every aspect of the strata of the society?
So I'll tell you, in our society, especially in India, spirituality is a way of life. It is not just part of life. You know what I mean by part of life? Okay, subah, in the morning you do some rituals. Once in a week you go to a temple. Once in a year you go to some, pilgrimage.
And that too conditional, ki mujhe ye chahiye to, yeah.
It's more about going to God and begging in a nice manner. So it's like a deal. So that's part of life. And I say it's a good beginning. If you're doing some rituals every day, don't stop it. But I'll tell you, spirituality becomes a way of life when your thinking becomes absolutely clear. Like, there's a saying in our own Indian scriptures, finally you realize your understanding of life changes. In every walk of your life, you can be productive. I've seen that. If I'm an author, I'm productive. If I'm a speaker, I'm productive. If I'm a teacher, I'm productive. So spirituality is not just about making you successful in one field. It's a way of thinking that makes you successful in every field. For example, one of the role models that we look upon is, Maryada Purushottam Raja Ram. And I was reading about him and said, okay, the same Raja Ram is a good Raja. He's a good brother. He's a good friend. He's a good leader. And he's also a good husband. We have opinion that, he left Sita, but ask Sita, she was never unhappy. And by the way, he's also a good enemy. So think about it. It is not one face that, okay, Ram means, okay. And if you have a right person, you also have Ram Rajya, which is good governance. So, a lot of people have this idea meditation means something with closed eyes. That's the beginning.
But after a point of time, spirituality is 24/7 way of looking at life. So, I think the personality doesn't change, your personality gets dissolved. So that's spirituality for me.
Wow, so beautifully put in words. Your personality gets dissolved, and it's a way of living. And it's not a routine-based stuff that you do a particular time of the day. Good to begin with, but it's the way of living. Thank you so much for sharing that. I heard somewhere that you mentioned Google search is not research. Can you shed some light on that? Because I'm sure there would be, a lot of curiosity around that because our life depends on Google nowadays. So yeah.
And now Chat GPT.
And now Chat GPT. Yes. Tomorrow, God knows what. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, this statement actually was given by me to guide my PhD students. So many people don't know that I'm also a PhD guide. So there's one side of Radhakrishnan Pillai, the academician. I'm a director at the University of Mumbai. I get a lot of students globally in the research of Indian scriptures. Globally, I have students. I teach in some of the foreign universities also. Now I'll tell you what happens. Today's generation has got the advantage of technology, right? Information is on their fingertips. But I'll tell you something. The real research is not just about data collection, but using a brain to bring in insights. And on the fingertips, you have your Google, right? So I was taking a class for my students on PhD, how to do it. And I told them this statement and became very viral. Google search is not research, but the second part is also equally important. Google search is a starting point of gathering information. So yes, it's important that in research you should have information. So today, if you look at it, many people in the academic world were telling me the most used people in the world for Wikipedia are actually Indians in the world. And I'm sure you also use it, right? I also use it, right? Because Wikipedia is a very structured way on any topic. So I always say, Google search is not research, but once you gather the information, do more research, understand, think, and develop new techniques. So start with Google, but don't end with Google. That's my point.
That is so well put because every person's life depends on Google. Even culturally, we were talking about, culturally how India was Soniki Chiriya. Let's take even the small home remedies. The other day I was speaking with somebody. I would like to give that example over here. And we were talking about, how simple old traditional home remedies can actually cure a lot of stuffs. So then the people were like, नहीं गूगल पे तो कुछ और लिखा हुआ है. So it was like, no, Google does not have all the data. So what you can go back, your mother, grandmother, everyone can give you, Google will not give you. So that was a quite funny thing that was happening. At the same point, it is like the younger generation or the millennials or people who call Gen Z, I don't know why the word came into picture still. If they understand this part, I think a lot of things will change in the society for the better, which is happening, but we can do much better with the kind of potential India has. So yes, very well described. Thank you so much. All right. So now I would love to ask you some quick rapid fire questions. Okay. And you will not have enough time to answer that. So you have to answer quickly. All right. So to begin with, do you have any favorite spiritual place? If yes, which one is it?
Himalayas.
Himalayas. Okay, I take that. Okay, if not a teacher, mentor, PhD scholar, or author, what would Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai be?
A nice husband.
That I think you are now as well. So, what else? I mean, that is an existing one.
A spiritual seeker.
A spiritual
Surely.
seeker. Okay. If you have the power to change one thing in the world in one moment, let's say you have a superpower in one moment, what change would you bring?
I will create a complete generation of leaders, not followers.
Wow. Creating a complete generation of leaders. Okay, that is bang on. One thing that no one or hardly very few people know about you, what would you like to share today with us?
Which everybody knows, still people don't know. I'm a good father.
That is something a lot of people might know, I'm sure. But what would be something that, hardly anybody knows?
My children are my mentors.
My children are my mentors. Okay. How is that? I mean, tell something about your children. How old are they?
And that's what many people don't know this. See, I'll tell you, in India, the tradition is that the elders should be teaching juniors, right? Or that's a traditional model. So I'll tell you something. You mentioned about Generation Z. My children are part of Generation Alpha.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
So the children born after 2010 are generally categorized as Generation Alpha. I'll tell you, it's very nice if you actually deal with them. They got so much to teach you.
Yes.
They may not have, they may not have maturity. They may not have experience of life. Yet they have a new perspective. And we should actually have something called a reverse mentoring. So I'll give an example to make the point. So I got two wonderful children, one elder daughter and one son. My daughter is 13 years old. Her name is Anvikshiki, a Chanakya word.
Oh, wow. Her name itself is Anvikshiki. That's amazing.
Yes. And my son's name is Arjun. He's 11 years old. The moment I go home, I forget Chanakya. Because they're the Chanakyas of the house, the three people. My wife and my kids, they overtake.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Oh my God. First of all, I love the name. And when you actually mentioned there is so much to learn from them, I also think this new generation kids, they have a very good perspective of asking questions and not just following stuff. So I think maybe that is also something that we can learn from them.
So I want to tell you an instance.
Yes.
I want to tell you an instance. So I remember I went home one day and my son loves cricket. They asked me a strange question. Papa, do you know who makes the maximum money in cricket? Today we are having the World Cup going on. So cricket में सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा कौन बनाता है? My mind started thinking, Virat Kohli, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Sachin Tendulkar. You know what was his answer? Can you believe it? He said Neeta Ambani.
Wow. Other people might have thought BCCI.
Now think about it. You know what he told me? The teams that are there, the owners make the maximum money.
Absolutely. And he has
So
observed
think
that.
about this. Think about it. It's not about my son. It's about the generation alpha who thinks differently. Our generation was actually from a generation of scarcity, poverty. Their generation is a generation of abundance, everything abundance, information abundance. Money is not a problem. For them, having a coffee in Starbucks is not 300 rupees. हम लोग सोचेंगे अरे 10 रुपए का चाय मिलता है, why are you having 300 rupees? For them, it's an experience. So I think there's a lot of things we should learn from them. Otherwise, what will happen is that knowledge transfer will not happen from down to up. Always it has been up to down. So we should also teach them. But this is one thing I do. I learn from my children, my students, my juniors also.
That is so purely put forward, learning from, bottom towards up side. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure this might open up a lot of thinking hats out there. So yes, one thing that you would do for sure and make it happen if tomorrow would be your last day on the planet, what would that be?
Write one more book.
Write one more book. Oh, wow. So even sharing information and sharing the knowledge and skills while going. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So I would love to ask you, do you want to share something on your latest book, The 100 Sutras of Chanakya? Please, our listeners would love to know more about it.
So I'll tell you, I would say an author who loves my publishers. So I've written 22 books with 7 publishing houses. But the latest book right now is with Jaiko, which is Chanakya's 100 Sutras. So I'll tell you what happened. My publishers are very happy with me. That's why they come to me again and again and again. I'm sure all of us make money. I make money, publishers make money, booksellers make money, bookstores make money. So it's a good model. And because I'm India's #1 business author, everybody comes and says, can you write one more book? I'm writing 6 more books right now. I always say yes. But I'll tell you something, a secret. I always discuss the topic with my publishers. So I'm an author for the publishers and for the readers. And only one condition, I will only write on Chanakya. Aur kuch aata nahi. So I'll tell you how this book happened was strange. So he said, today, I don't know why, this number 100 is becoming very fascinating. So, 100 runs a century, all that blah, blah, blah. And I like the number 100 because it sets you a benchmark. So today, if you look at, in the startup culture, they say, you have to be a unicorn. I never knew what is a unicorn. So it's like 100, number, so much turnover you achieve. It becomes like a unicorn or whatever. So I said, okay, I like the number. And he said, in Arthashastra of Chanakya, there are 6,000 sutras. So can you pick up 100 sutras and make it simple? I said, why not? So that's how the book came. But one more thing about the book. The book was released on 5th of September 2023, which is Teachers' Day in Bangalore. And I said, okay. And I was there one day early. I wanted some books for myself. Can you believe what the publishers told me? 25,000 copies have been sold out even before the release.
Oh, congratulations. This is massive. Oh, wow.
I give the full credit to my publishers and my readers. The idea here is that, it's not about books or numbers, that the love for the books is there, love for Chanakya is there. And I believe, and right now what we're doing is also a soft launch along with you. This is my first, actually I would say, online launch.
Oh, really?
And I'm doing
first.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'm so privileged.
So we are doing 100 launches. So anybody wants me to come to the platform, I'm always available.
This is massive. Wow. I did not know this. This was a surprise for me. So thank you so much. Okay, so how do you want to go about it?
Please buy the book, gift the book. Diwali is around. And we'll send you the link. You can maybe post it.
Yes.
Very important. It's not about me. It's about Chanakya. I always say this, Friends, the best gift you can give to anybody is knowledge. Right? And I've tried to simplify knowledge. And let me tell you, it's a revolution we are creating. As somebody said, either you watch history being made or be part of the history in making it. So be a part of this book also.
I loved it. The way you mentioned it, be a part of this as well. And there's a movement. So everyone who is watching this right now, go and get your copy. Okay, it's there everywhere. It's there on Amazon. You can get it. Plus, the link is given below. Get it from there. And the subtitle is Ageless Wisdom for Unlocking Your Potential and Achieving Your Goals. So there are 100 sutras, and just like you mentioned, you can begin from anywhere. So you can just open any page and start reading it. And we are so privileged that today Dr. Pillai launched his book with us as well once again. And this is the first online launch he's having. So yes, congratulations, and do read the book, get your copy today. And just like all the other books, I am enjoying reading this book as well. And every time, Dr. Pillai, whenever I read the book, right, everything is about Chanakya, but everything has a fresh touch to it. It never feels like, "Arey, wo book to pad liya, ye book mein bhi Chanakya hi hai." It's never the same. It's always different. And it's always intriguing and interesting, because maybe we have never thought things in that perspective. So the way you have simplified it, the way you have written the books, it's crazy, massive, and it's fabulous for every generation. The new generation, the older generation, and I'm sure upcoming generations will also enjoy it to the fullest. So thank you so much for launching the book with us. And any message you want to give to our readers or people in any strata of life?
Please continue your podcast.
Thank you so much. That was for me. I take that.
And if you want any more thing from my side, getting Shivnandan sir or anybody, please feel free, because you're doing wonderful work in this particular space. Don't stop. I'm not stopping Chanakya. You don't stop your work either.
I won't. I won't. And thank you so much. This was really, you made my day. Thank you so much. This is a beautiful time of the year. Beautiful book coming up. Such a short notice we got on a call, and thank you so much for fixing this call in your tight schedule. And I am so blessed and I'm grateful that you are here today. So gratitude to you, Dr. Pillai, and thank you so much for gracing us today in Intensify Live podcast. Everyone, the link would be given below. Go and grab your copy today, and do message him on social media. Everywhere you can message how you like the book as well. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. Namaste.
Thank you so much for being a wonderful host and a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you.